around the Manhattan Criminal Courthouse in New York City, where the 45th president of the United States, Donald Trump, is expected to be indicted as early as tomorrow morning. These unprecedented charges from the state of New York could range from a misdemeanor to a low-level felony derived from a novel legal theory about an alleged payment to a porn star 6 years ago. But today, in front of that grand jury, the state's key witness, Michael Cohen, was discredited by his own former legal advisor, Robert Costello. Take a look.
I just spent 2 hours or so testifying before the grand jury in downtown Manhattan, and I got my point across, although it was clear to me that the Manhattan DA's office did not want to get to the truth. I need to explain that a little bit. I called them up after I saw Michael Cohen on TV stating things that he said he was going to tell the grand jury and had told the grand jury that were contrary to what he told us when we first represented him in April of 2018. So I'm sitting at home watching these lies, and I said, I've got to do something about it. I don't represent Donald Trump, but I do stand for justice, and I think I have a legal obligation to inform both sides. So that's what I did.
So what does this testimony actually mean for the case going forward? In just a moment, we'll review the horrendous track record from New York's leftist, incompetent, Soros-funded, and politically charged District Attorney Alvin Bragg. But first, joining us now with more on what we can expect this week, Trump attorney Joe Tacopina. All right, good evening, Joe. There's so much to talk to you about. I find that statement that Bob Costello gave to Tucker within the last few minutes to be stunning, but not so surprising, I guess, in terms of his saying it's clear to me the Manhattan DA did not want to get to the truth. What can you tell us about the charges, if they're coming, and if so, when?
You know, Janine, I mean, they're not obviously keeping us in the loop. And I've really racked my brains trying to figure out how they could fit that round hole into a square peg or a square peg into the round hole. It's mind-boggling that we're at this point. This is a case that has, I heard you say novel legal theory, some said. There is absolutely no legal theory that matches the facts here. There's two very important things that happened. This was a settlement like any other settlement, in a nuisance settlement, in a claim of this manner, where someone's claiming they had a relationship and they were going to go public with it, a.k.a. extortion, by the way. But that's nothing more or nothing less than what this was. It was a settlement made by a lawyer, okay? And the lawyer subsequently created invoices and billed the client for much more than that and for other things. But understand this. There's two really crucial distinctions here. One, this was paid not with campaign funds, but with personal funds. Right. If President Trump thought this was a campaign violation, certainly, or something that would fall within the purview of a campaign, it would have been paid with campaign funds. Secondly, and most importantly, the bright line test for personal use, whether it is or is not a campaign donation, is when you have personal funds, you look to see if that payment would have been made irrespective of the candidate's campaign. Here, clearly, the answer is yes, as even Michael Cohen had to testify under oath when he pled guilty, that it was done to protect the president and his family from personal embarrassment. So it's mind-boggling that we're at this point. The rule of law is being stretched to pursue a political opponent of this prosecutor and this prosecutor's support system, which is the far left, the George Soroses of the world, who loathe everything Donald Trump. And so they're using a case that, by all accounts, was dead on arrival, by all accounts was turned down by every other agency that looked at it, and by this district attorney's office, who had put this in the grand jury 2 years ago and then withdrew it from the grand jury. All right, because they didn't find that there was enough to bring a case.
All right, so just so we're clear, there is nothing illegal about giving someone money for them to be quiet. It's done every day in the corporate world, in the business world. It's called an NDA. So when they say it was an illegal payment, let's make it clear it was not. That's number one. Number two, the statute of limitations, Joe, has run on this, plus you've got a Manhattan DA, this Soros-funded prosecutor, who's trying to bootstrap a federal crime when the feds have already said it's not a crime. Is that correct?
The feds have said it. Yeah, the feds have said it. The Federal Election Committee has not ever ruled that this was a violation. They looked at it. As a matter of fact, Bradley Smith, the former chairman of the FEC, said this is in no way, shape, or form a crime. That the facts presented here, coupled with the laws, don't equate to a crime. Look, again, this government official should not be stretching the laws or should not be taking novel legal theories beyond their normal means to get people that they think are unpopular or they don't like or have a political animus towards. I mean, one of the prosecutors from that office left that office and decided to write a book in violation of grand jury secrecy laws and the canons of ethics and all those other things. But what he said in that book was, there were so many pearls in that book for President Trump, but one of them was that they despised him so much, he despised him, he would have paid to prosecute Donald Trump. Right. Think about that. We were both prosecutors, Janine. Just think about that statement and those implications. And then here's the kicker. They hated the man so much that they were looking for a crime to fit. It's not supposed to be that way in this country. It's not supposed to be where you look for a crime to fit a target that you don't like. You're supposed to get information that gets brought to your attention of a crime, and then you hold responsible those parties that you deem committed this crime. That's not what happened here, and it's not what is happening here, and it's unbelievable. And now I got to be honest with you, people on the opposite side of the political spectrum from Donald Trump are coming out saying, what are we doing here? We're going to create a breakdown in the rule of law in this country, and anarchy. It's horrible that a prosecutor's office is being used as a weapon against a political opponent. And Janine, you know what happened today, I assume. The House Judiciary Committee, led by Jim Jordan, sent a very terse, very strong letter to D.A. Bragg's office saying, we want you under oath, and we want to understand exactly how this political, as they call it, the political prosecution began and when it began. Because according to Alan Bragg, a few months ago, he wouldn't have trusted Michael Cohen for anything. I mean, he said there was no world in which he could envision bringing a case against Donald Trump.
Why would anyone trust
Cohen.
Michael Cohen? The man's been convicted of perjury, lying to Congress. You know, he said for years there was never any problem with Donald Trump, and now all of a sudden there's a problem. But Joe Tacopina, I must tell you, this is making America a banana republic in terms of our justice system, in terms of the inequity that's going on. So stay in touch with us and let us know what you hear in this and whether or not this will go forward. But your sense is that it will, Joe?
You know, I still hold out hope. I really do, Jeannie. I hold out hope that some sort of sanity is going to prevail inside of that office. I understand there's a lot of disgruntled employees in the Manhattan DA's office right now. I'm holding out hope that justice will prevail. And if that happens, then there will be no charge because it's a case that will die on the vine. This will be a lasting stain on the legacy of that DA's office. So they won't win this case. I promise you that. And you could play this tape back in a year from now. They will not win this case. We will win it on the law. We'll win it on the facts. Wherever we go, we will win this case.
All right. Joe Tacopina, thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.